All right, we are live for the Monday edition of the Morning Check-In. And as always, looking forward to connecting, sharing my 2 cents on what's happening, and trying to make sense of all the craziness in the world these days. And so there's lots of noise to cover. And so we have, of course, the deep seek that looks like it's thinking U.S. equities on top of all the other things happening behind the scenes. So it's going to be an interesting week, interesting morning, and everything between. But as always, want to make sure I welcome everybody into the fold. Hope everyone is having a great day and your morning is off to a good start. And yeah, we're going to start off with some good news, which is to basically charge you up this morning to get you out and about on your way, spiritually filled and everything in between. And then we'll get into some of the resources, some of the market activity we're paying attention to just from a financial standpoint. And then we'll dive into some of the headlines, some things that I think is worth bringing to your attention. So before I move forward, let me acknowledge everybody, let you know if everything is coming in loud and clear so that I am not talking to myself. Just because there's always some technical issues or something like that I have to be aware of. So want to make sure the sound is good. Want to make sure the audio, video, and everything's good, and we'll jump into it. And for any first-time viewers, perhaps, regardless of what platform you're watching on, let me know where you're watching from. Would love to acknowledge your presence, as well as thank you for blessing me with your time. And then also, if you have any thoughts, ideas, suggestions, anything that you're keeping an eye on, feel free to let me know in the chat, because that is a good way for me to stay up to date, as well as to bring stories to you guys that are in real time. So I will jump into the chat real quick and see who's checking in with me real quick. We got Jill checking in, says hello, Mike. We got LBP checking in. Good up morning, my man. We got Withers Works checking in as well. And says, how do I get in contact with you? Via email. Yeah, go to admin@rethinkingthedollar.com. Shoot me something there, and we can connect. All right. So with that being the case, I want to jump right in to some good news, and then we will dive into, let me get my screen together here, dive into some good news, check it the market activity, and then we'll jump into some headlines. So here we go. First and foremost, let's get it going. Let me bring it up on the screen here. So January 27th, it says wise as serpents, harmless as doves. And I'll zoom in so you guys can read what I read. It says here, let me make sure it's big enough for everybody to see. And as always, the goal is just to share some interesting, exciting news to get you charged up spiritually, and then hopefully set you straight on your course today. But it says here, behold, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves, therefore be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. And then it goes on to say, Jesus was preparing his disciples for a mission to represent the kingdom of God in a hostile world. He warned them, you're being sent into an environment that's dangerous, unpredictable, even cunning. Says the wolves represent the systems and the people who oppose God's kingdom. And then it says, but notice what he does next. He said he gives strategy. He says, be wise as serpents. Why a serpent? Because a serpent knows how to navigate its surroundings with caution, precision, and intentionality. It says wisdom isn't about fear. It's about moving with purpose. Then Jesus says, be harmless as doves. A dove is a symbol of peace and purity. We are to engage the world without malice, violence, or deception. So in essence, Jesus is teaching us balance. The wisdom of a serpent prevents recklessness, while the innocence of a dove ensures we reflect the heart of God. So this verse is a kingdom strategy. As we go about our daily lives, we must carry the mindset of ambassadors, wise in our actions, gentle in our approach. This is how we shine as lights in the midst of darkness. So the question for you guys, how are you balancing wisdom and innocence in your walk today? Something to just help you stay kingdom focused. All right, so there you have it. Some good news this morning, man. Hopefully that churns a little bit in your spirit, man. Get you fired up just as well as it did myself. And yeah, it'd be good from there. All right, so for those who are checking in, let me make sure I get everything up and going on my end here. Don't want to be talking to myself and not getting nothing done. All right, so give me a second here. Let me move some things around on my screen here. So for those who are new, as always, got to send off invitations. Appreciate you for joining the morning check-in as always. It's always good to be able to connect with my people bright and early in the morning before everybody gets their day started, depending on where you're at and what you're doing. But for those who might be new, want to make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell notification as well as the check mark if you're on Rumble, so you'll always be plugged in and you won't miss a thing. And then also, if you want to be a blessing to the channel via donations. Feel free to do such. Links in the description down below. And as you can see here, all the different mediums that are acceptable to help me put on this show and as far as educating and providing news for everybody. So, okay, so let's jump into it, man. Let's get into the nuts and bolts of things. So I want to start off with some resources because I never know who might be new to the fold. And then we'll get into some of the top of the headlines this morning. Let me move my screen around some here. I got too much stuff going on here. And I'm experimenting with a new keyboard, so it's kind of hard to maneuver as I'm trying to figure all this out, but we're going to make the best of it. And so feel free, as I always mention, throw thoughts, ideas, suggestions out there so we can stay in tune together. All right, but let me get myself together here. Wow. Got to move some stuff around on this table here. All right, here we go. Okay, first and foremost, just bring it up here on the screen. Here we have colonialsmetalsgroup.com. And so let me just bring this over here so you guys can see me, the new me rather than the older me. But as you can see on the screen here, colonialsmetalsgroup.com, which are my partners that help people take a different approach towards investing. And so the method is to be able to actually get physical gold and silver in a self-directed IRA. So if you're interested in finding out more about that, click the link in the description or go to RTD/colonialsmetalsgroup.com/RTD, call the number and or click the link and put your information here, download this PDF here, and then you'll have a chance to find out more about the program and see if it's something that's a good fit for you. Just something to consider for those who might be interested in doing such. And then next, I want to continue to remind people of getting your weight up. Despite all the things happening in the equity market, I must admit for myself, because I don't really speculate or gamble in that arena anymore, I don't really have any outright exposure to the equity markets in a way that would really set me back tremendously. So that's why I encourage people, if you have not, continue to do what is sound, true, and tested. And of course, that is to get your weight up. And I think the most affordable way, as you can see above my head here, are the gold-backed notes. And so if you guys are interested in finding out more about that, then go to buygoldnote.com and get yourself some of these gold notes here. You won't be disappointed one bit. All right, keeping it moving. And as always, the reason I mention all these things is just some resources for those who might be interested, because you never know who's watching and where they're watching from. So, and I'm trying to maneuver with this keyboard of mine that is causing some issues. But on the screen here, as you can see, if you're interested in getting involved in silver, join the silver team. So as you can see here, let me zoom in here so you can see what I see. The silver team through Quicksilver Wealth Accelerator Program. If you have not, I encourage you to check it out to see if it's something for you. And in doing such, you can get hold of this particular page here where you can actually have a storefront of your very own, and you can help your family and friends get their weight up and earn a commission off doing such. So if you're interested, I encourage you to take advantage of this free opportunity here to get a 1 gram Valcanby bar as well as some information. And in doing that, you will be able to find out more about the program and become a affiliate. So if you're interested, go to mysilverteam.com or click the link in the description and get yourself some silver and join me on the team. Okay, so with that out the way, let's get into it, man. Let me check the chat, see if anybody keeping their eyes on anything worthwhile out here. Acts, LBT, Acts 4:12. That's your scripture for the day, my man. Feel free to put the whole scripture in there so we can all enjoy that good verse there. What else we got here? Okay, let's get into some activity right now. Let's look at the markets. What's happening right now? What's happening in the streets? It looks like, let me refresh the screen here so I can make sure that this is up-to-date information here. All right, let's jump into it. Here we have gold and silver, platinum and palladium are all in the green right now. And so silver is at $30.34. Let me zoom in here. Let me get myself together here. All right, we got gold at $2,741.80. Just think about that. That's just those numbers. 2,741 pieces of paper for 1 ounce. Silver, $30. Platinum, $9.49. Palladium, $9.50. Looks like oil is up a little bit too. Copper, nickel's up, aluminum's up, zinc's up. Man, okay. But that stock market may not be too pretty right now. We're going to get in that in a second. And as always, we got to check out the crypto bubbles, because that is where Donald Trump and his team wants to go as they create a crypto and Bitcoin stockpile. So let's check it out real quick. And so as of right now, it looks like Bitcoin has cooled off slightly. And so it's only 101,000 pieces of paper for one single unit of the digital ledger known as Bitcoin. And then Ethereum is 3,000. XRP is $2.96 and right on throughout. I wonder what that Trump coin is doing these days. Donald Trump getting billions. Okay. But this is where most people might be a little bit more concerned. And so here we on the screen, the S&P 500. Let's zoom in here real quick so people can see what the current market activity is. And everything is subject to change. Just because Donald Trump can't have the first 2 weeks of his presidency looking this bad. And so you better believe, worst case, they're going to juice the markets. And so as of right now, we got Nvidia. Let me get my screen together here so I can. All right, here we go. So we got Nvidia down 13%. That is not good because the entire stock market hinges on the magnificent 10. So right now, 13.6%. And let me see this. AVGO is down 13 as well. That's not good. Microsoft down 3, Google down 1.7, Amazon down, Apple's up. So yeah, so what is really going on here? Let's find out. So let me get to the top of the stories here. Let me get to I gotta fix this thing. So I have a couple stories that all can be found, or majority of them can be found at the RT News site. So that's where I put all the stories that I'm going to be touching on. So if you guys want to find out more, just go to rtd.news, put that in your URL, you'll be on your way to getting a hold of the information. But let's get into it. So as of right now, first story today, DeepSeek has now erased $2 trillion worth of market cap in U.S. stocks. And so I am late to the party just because, once again, this is a noise story to me to where, as I mentioned before, it's significant, but then again, it's only really significant for those who pay attention to the day-to-day activities. When you zoom out, think of things from a long-term perspective, these are just tremors leading us to some big event in the future. So, but it's majorly important to a lot of people who are dependent upon Federal Reserve liabilities and everything in between. But let me get on the screen here so you can see what I see. So let me zoom in here. Give me 1 second. There we go. Okay, so let's find out what's going on according to what is provided for us through Perplexity. It's a great news source here that summarizes things. So it says DeepSeek, a Chinese AI startup, has caused a significant market downturn, erasing approximately $2 trillion in market capitalization in U.S. stocks. It says the sharp decline is primarily due to DeepSeek's introduction of its R1AI model, which operates at a fraction of the cost compared to models from U.S. tech giants like OpenAI, Google, and Meta. And so, just off rip, the first thing that comes to my mind is, how will this type of disruptive news that has such an impact on U.S. equities and our entire infrastructure really hamper or hinder the plans of that Stargate AI situation that Oracle and all the other billionaires are looking to do on behalf of our country? So if China is able to pull off this for the fraction of a cost, I'm hearing numbers between 6 million and 10 million, and it's causing this much trouble, that really could ruffle the plans of the uber elite. So intentional, accidental, just noise. It's too early to tell, but definitely it's going to be hard for Trump to come out and say, look at your 401ks, everybody's feeling wealthier. Yeah. It says here, the impact has been particularly severe for the tech sector. It says NASDAQ 100 tumbled as much as 5.2%, marking the largest intraday drop since August. S&P futures fell 2.4%. Nvidia, a leading chip supplier, saw its stock drop by 11.5%. This is obviously a little bit outdated because it's 13.6 as of now, resulting in a 400 billion market cap loss, the largest single-day loss in U.S. stock market history. So think about that. Today's activity has been categorized as single-day loss, the largest in history. And nothing is even wrong. We're just hearing rumors. We're hearing noise about a software program introduced by China. And so talk about threat to national security. Like, if all our entire future hinges upon AI developments and these startup companies trying to create a future for us that nobody really wants other than them, then, we're in big trouble, buddy. because we're not leading the world in much these days other than debt and deficits and debasement. So, yeah, this is going to be problematic. But rest assured, Donald Trump and his team are working on a backup plan to rescue the American stock market. So, what is how will they do that? You know it. He's going to call out Jerome Powell. Cut rates immediately. We need to juice the markets or something of that nature. Okay, so let's get into a couple other headlines, just some things to pay attention to that are definitely impactful for the macro picture, perhaps. It says Treasury yields tumble and flight to safety move as U.S. stocks brace for heavy losses. That's out of Market Watch this morning. And speaking of which, let me just look at the 10-year and see what we're talking about thus far. Let me get myself together here. Let's find out. As of right now, looks like the bond yields are coming down slightly based upon, when was this? This was earlier this month. So we are trending down a little bit. So as of now, it's at 4 to 4.5. And so it got up to 4 3/4 or 4.80%. So that's, I guess, consider good news for somebody. Okay, what else we got here? Let's get into some other stories. Let me 1 second, get my screen together here. Bear with me. And as always, for those who are paying attention, feel free to drop some ideas. Withersworth says, do people understand what 100K BTC means? Man, the scriptures are the truth. Withersworth, feel free to elaborate exactly what you're referring to here. I would be curious to find out a little bit more about that. Rob B said the Dow is 44K. And I was thinking, I've mentioned this before as a skeptic, I look out, you zoom out a couple years from now, depending on at what point you may entertain the idea of wanting to retire. So for me, 20 plus years down the line ish, the Dow Jones is going to have to be 80, 90,000. S&P maybe 10, 15,000. Those are some large numbers, all in artificially stimulated synthetic currency, aka the Federal Reserve note, led by our presidents and everything between. Okay, so let me keep going. Give you a couple more stories here, a couple things worth touching on. Let me get back here to my main page here. Okay, and so let me just get back here. Okay, so next little follow-up, I want to talk about S&P erases 1 trillion quickly. So this is a post from the Kobayashi letter that came out right when the markets opened. It says S&P erases over 1 trillion in market cap. 1 trillion in market cap as it opens. So think about that. 1 trillion transferred. It's deep red in tech and sunny day elsewhere. Tech stocks are the market, unfortunately. So yeah, this is the world that they've created for us, people. Everything is centered around financialization of the entire world. Every item has been financialized and turned into a profitable opportunity for those who call themselves investing. But there is no such thing as investing anymore. Pure speculation. All right, what else we got here? A couple other headlines here. And there we go. So here's a little something to consider for my crypto people. Arthur Hayes. Everybody in crypto space know who Arthur Hayes is. So let me just zoom in here. So he yesterday made an interesting post that caught my attention because it has bigger implications beyond just crypto. And so the drawdown in crypto will be at the result of something bigger to the overall markets is the way I took this. And so as you can see on the screen here, it says reversing the order of the triptych essay series. I'm not sure what, I just thought that he's a part of his writings, but it says that the ugly will be published tomorrow morning. I am calling for a 70K to 70K correction in BTC, a mini financial crisis, and a resumption of the money printing that will send us to 250K by the end of this year. And so this is his forecast or predictions or whatever you want to call it. And as you can see here, nice little drop from 105 down to 101. And this bars make it look a lot worse than what it is. But point in case is he does a good job of sharing his 2 cents and analysis, and he's been pretty accurate with his forecast as of now. And so, will Bitcoin be going to 75,000, 70? Of course, the maximum is going to say, "Oh, buying opportunity all the way down." But think about the bigger picture as far as U.S. equities or whatever else that will be the cause of that drawdown. That is something that will impact all markets. So, just something to pay attention to from our speculators. Could be a buying opportunity, or it could be a run to the exits, depending on how you're strategizing things. So, keeping it moving. All right, more stories here. Never a dull moment in the world of unlimited noise. Let me get to myself. Okay, so now the border wall is another topic. Let me bring this up here on the screen here. So we have, makes myself here. Border wall construction resumes as DHS starts filling gaps. So they're building a wall again. But mind you, here's the thing. Here's something to think about. They're building a wall. At the same time, they're going through mass deportation. And so once again, it brings us to what will be the long-term consequences of a wall being built. And as I mentioned several years ago, for those that's been around, the wall is not designed to keep out. It's designed to keep in, ultimately. And so, of course, we got the whole Colombia-U.S. spat tariff war, which it looks like Colombia gave in. They'll be willing to accept their own people back. And every other country beneath, especially Central American countries, they'll probably be receiving back their people, and they're building the wall again. So it's good to say those people will not reverse and come back, because I doubt they would want to be trapped in here, down the line when and if something happens. And so if all this plays out the way that it appears that it is on course to, with the Stargate AI system being built, which is designed to track, trace, and surveil all of humanity within this country. And one thing that people haven't talked about is NSA. And so the National Security Agency is a government-appointed institution that already has trapped us from a surveillance standpoint, utilizing every piece of technology, whether it be our smartphones, smart devices, the closed caption televisions, Ring doorbells, everything is all centered into the NSA. Then why would we need Stargate in the first place? Apart from Stargate and NSA working together, along with the Five Eyes and all the other surveillance nation states, all coming together for a ultimate control grid of eyes and ears that see everything in real time. So clearly, to me, that looks like the objective at the end of the day. And, not quite sure how that's making America great again, but then I never really bought that lie in the first place. So clearly we're being set up for something a lot worse than what we all can imagine. And that's why I always say everything goes back to, being more of the biblical nature. So as long as you won't be caught off guard or be surprised. So, and that's where, as much as we can talk about it, we can push back against it. But if these are events that are biblical in nature, you can't stop them. Things must unfold the way God has pre-planned for them to. So therefore, the question people must ask themselves is, what part do I play in all this? And this is where you get into your own personal relationship with the good Lord above, and you realize that your life has a calling on it, and you have been given instructions on some things that you're to carry out in this life. And so for me personally, the reason I mention all this is just because as I look to shift my focus from the noise to focusing on the good news and my part associated with that, it makes a lot of that other stuff developing around me and to me less significant in the grander scheme of things, just because everything is temporal in nature. And knowing that everything in front of me is also a part of a bigger plan is kind of exciting, because it just confirms the fact that God's word is true and that God has already secured the victory for his own. That's just me, but to each his own. Okay. I had to throw that little moment in there. Okay, so let me get back on to some other news here. I got a couple other stories here, but more importantly, the goal is just to share my 2 cents on some stories that might be of interest to some out there. But as always, I have more stories than I can actually get to, and I'll point them out. So I'll just read a couple headlines here. So I just thumbed through a couple headlines. So here we got BTC, desperate times require centralized measures. So let me share something real quick. I want to share something with you that just to me shows more of the deliberate digital psyop that we're witnessing. Let me, and it has everything to do with Bitcoin. I've been really not necessarily trolling a lot of the Bitcoin people, but just having fun with them because there's so many questions that the maximalists are not willing to answer that it becomes kind of funny after a while because they meaning those that are hedging their entire lives on Bitcoin doing something, they're kind of mad at Trump right now as if they expected anything different. And that's where you get into the fact that, yeah, if you believe any politician is going to do anything outside of what every other politician have done, you're the damn fool and you deserve what's coming your way. Okay, so let me share something with you real quick. I'm going to play a soundbite. This is off topic, but just listen to this and I'll ask you some questions and then I'll answer those questions too. But I want to share this with you because this was really disturbing to me when I hear this, but it's not surprising. Here we go. Let me bring this on the screen here. So you should be able to hear it. Let me make sure. Give me a second here. Bear with me. I'm still a work in progress. So here we have Cynthia Loomis, who is the representative out of the great state of Wyoming. And when I say puppet, I mean puppet. What is all this? I got too much stuff on the screen here. So I want to play this little soundbite here, and then I'm gonna ask you some questions, and then you let me know what you think. Okay. Okay, so let me just interject right here. So this is a 23-second clip. Cynthia Loomis is the Republican representative of the state of Wyoming, and she has been on a campaign trail. She's been appointed to the Senate Banking Committee subcommittee of digital assets, and I've expressed my displeasure in her from day one, so it's nothing new. But when I heard this soundbite, the first thing that came to mind is you are an elected official, but you are elected by the American public to represent us in Congress. And she's describing the very problem that she is running from, and she's pointing people in a direction that is counter what would be considered sound, true advice. So she's pointing out the fact that the dollar is the problem. But yet she holds a position to begin addressing the core issues surrounding the dollar, which is the Federal Reserve and government's overspending and debt and deficits. So instead of addressing the problem, she's telling people, she encouraged them to buy and hold Bitcoin, and I encouraged them to save Bitcoin for their retirement and their future. But the Bitcoin that she's referring to is denominated in the same currency that her and her colleagues are supposed to be stewards over before it was given over to the Federal Reserve to be the primary controllers of our financial future. So instead of addressing the problem, she's giving people a very problematic solution of run from the problem and run into Bitcoin because the dollar is going to die. But the dollars are national currency. So if our national currency goes to the hell in a handbasket, that everything we price our world in is denominated in that same currency. So what good really would Bitcoin be that's also priced in dollars? That's not more purchasing power. That's just price appreciation of another asset denominated in the same currency that's destroyed. So if the currency goes under, so does everything associated with that currency, relatively speaking, because it's not real money. It's so when I was watching this, I was very disturbed because she's one of a lot of other people that's a part of this Bitcoin propaganda movement. And she's telling people to run to a digital nothing that is 15 years old and not reminding people, first and foremost, to get into gold and silver, which is constitutionally what our country was supposed to be, based upon. And that's just null and void nowadays. And so it leaves me and other alternative media individuals to remind people to not trust your local politicians, especially people who talk like this, who gives you a very slanted, psyop type of viewpoint. And this is just my opinion. So curious to hear what you think. I'm going to play the rest of the soundbite and just listen to this. When she speaks, I just see con artists. She is a part of the Congress. So why don't she work on having her colleagues dial in their spending? Why don't she make that a priority first and foremost, rather than become a spokesman for the Bitcoin propaganda movement? And Congress spends too much. They're flooding the economy and the world with dollars. She works in that department. There's no way that we, meaning her colleagues, the Federal Reserve, and all the people that are in on this, cannot not debase the currency. And so, once again, I just find that very problematic because here we have a person who was elected to protect and serve us and our interests, telling people to run to something that's 15 years old, that's not proven, not tried, not tested. And those are our representatives, those are our leaders. And then we have a president talking about a strategic crypto digital asset stockpile or something, and has mentioned nothing about gold and silver. So just let you know, these people are leading people down to slaughter. But this is the system that we're in. So shouldn't be no surprise to you people because you know what's going on. And so protect yourself because no one's going to do it for you. All right, here, a couple more headlines here. Let me just read through them real quick, give you guys something. So if anybody's interested in finding out more about some of these news sources, feel free to go to the link in the description. Minimum payments on credit cards hit record levels as delinquencies also rise. Federal Reserve expected to stand on rates even as Trump demand cuts. Japan raises interest rates on a 17-year high. Trump's biggest policy change is great for gold. Is a new golden age possible? It's amazing that the golden age that Trump keeps touting on has nothing to do with gold. It has everything to do with the digital future that he has in store for us. 3 things investors should consider outside of president's control. Donald Trump doubles down on Greenland claim after horrendous call. Doge seeks to shed vast amounts of government office space. Here's how much government leases and all that other stuff. So yeah, Trump established council to overhaul FEMA. So yeah, government, democracy, according to the way they preach democracy is, we're watching it fail in real time. Literally, we're in the Great Reset. So all this hype and hope that comes out of DC, just that, hype and hope. Can't trust none of these people. But anyway, you knew that. So we'll have to keep an eye on this DeepSeek, see where it takes us. It's good to say that's a threat to national security. So that means more government debt, more government intervention. And so that means higher gold and silver prices at some time in the future. So once again, just keeping you guys up to date on what's happening. As always, if you find any value here, hit that thumbs up button, donate to the community, donate to the channel rather, in the form of a thumbs up. And that'll be very appreciated. But other than that, people, be blessed, be safe. I will catch you guys tomorrow, Lord willing. And we will keep things moving from there. Mark, appreciate you, my man, for the love offering. Says, can't hear the video clip. Oh, you didn't hear it. Oh, I thought I could. Let me see here. It should have been audio the way I shared it. But if you couldn't, go to the rtd.news, and it's this. What tab is that? It is let me see here. It's one of the top tabs, so you can actually hear it. But I summarize. It's only 23 seconds. I summarize it by basically saying that she's just saying the dollar is the problem, and she's a part of the problem, and not doing nothing about the problem. She's telling people to go get Bitcoin instead of her working on the problem, which is to find a way to add more value or more purchasing power back into our national currency, if it was possible. But of course, she's not doing that. So, but if you couldn't hear it, I apologize for that. Still working on the kinks on my back end here. But anyway, good people, appreciate you. Be blessed, be safe. See you guys later. Shalom.